Nandi Gabzushi, Dagi Junyan Gibe Zonangi, Jona Benji Sangi Juba Shu, Sudao Zuji Jona La, Jancho Badu Nandi Gabzushi, Dagi Junyan Gibe Zonangi, Jona Benji Sangi Juba Shu, Sudao Zuji Jona La, Jancho Badu Nandi Gabzushi, Dagi Junyan Gibe Zonangi, Jona Benji Sangi Juba Shu. 与诸神美周章，日说非是地界见宝地，三归心多密见我也，中根当当心了就把手，我一当苦肉然当看到了刚给呀呀。
마시바라 거기 뭐 저거 중국이 만드는 대화를 만도 보로 지금 중요한 거 신용 그러니까 기기적으로 굉장히 만드는 대화다 되게 대화 무슨 소리가 되는 좀만 대화 주지 대화 다니죠 대다시니 말아말아 신진도 수 그래서 매바치니 장바고는 있어
Please adjust your sitting posture according to 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. And think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. And all sentient beings have been my mothers not just once, but for numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mothers in this life. Even though all kind mothers sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering, however, due to engaging wrongly in objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mothers sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mothers sentient beings were to have happiness and the causes of happiness. That is virtue. May all kind mothers sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. I will cause all kind mothers sentient beings to have happiness and the causes of happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
또 대해서 동아지나이 뒤지지 만드는 리진에는 선중화시 내발아서 리진은 디비 초 타도 타다 쩌마로 또 지지 저와다 그샤와 대다시니 만나말아 신질로도 어떻게 매바치는 문제 보이스
Next, we generate compassion to both suffering mothers and sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as physical pain, suffering, problem caused by four elements. May the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
이제 동아지나이 뒤지지 만드는 이식 기적 등을 나도 저는 모두 저거 지금 저와 지지 저와다 그샤와 대다시니 만나말아 신질로도 무슨 매바치는 거지
How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as mental suffering, fear, and all causing subtle negative discursive thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue. Or free the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
But this is the one that you want to know. Magazine is imagine about Hara Tata to Chamber. Draw a chicken to the show to the Shin of Mama and Shinji. What would never change your
How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings, free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. All coarse and subtle negative speech, such as telling lies. May the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Or free the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
This is the one that you want to know. Most of the show people and give to Tana and Timber. Draw a chicken to the show of the Shin of Lama and Shinji to say that. Not to the side.
What are going? You know. What? That's all. Think the Gosung Ra. Gosung Ra. How nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Or free the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Yeah.
Look on that. When they see the country, the weather can make you. Maybe what I turn a jump on the watch, you go out of
How nice it would be if all sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of suffering that are non-virtue. May all sentient beings be free from all suffering and the causes of suffering. Or free all sentient beings from suffering and the causes of suffering. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
그 뒤에 뭐는 진짜 또 지금 호되는 수고 동안에 수도 공연하고 어제 다니가 생각하면 또 소리 공부하는 게 그다음에 예다 보니 그 수로요 생각하고 그 소리가 이렇게 그래서 이제 타깃의 소리 공부하는 거 최근에 더 같이 무슨 여러 가지 전주시고 있어.
Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all other sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms? I should take on the responsibility to free all other sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. Even though I should take on the responsibility, I do not have the abilities to do so now. Who have such abilities? Those who have achieved the perfectly complete enlightenment have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment.
이제 관주제도 소리를 공부하다 보죠. 여기 배를 쓸 혼자 버티니 그러니까 너희 지금 무슨 상황가 되는 중 결혼되는 중 먼저 하면 되고 난담에 좀 이제 그러니까 너희 지금 뭐지 그거 쓰고 있는 거 지금 주스 자도 좀 내가 좀 생각이
Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind. The aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into a perfect mundis at one's heart. In bodhicitta, there is one's mind becoming one taste with emptiness, the lack of inherent resistance. These transform into a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis.
이제 더 공부를 오늘 좀 기대 타대 간다.
Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. That I exist neither intrinsically one with, nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I am empty of inherent resistance.
이제 나지 더버리 쉬어나지 무슨 지기 더 감스나 해서 파지도 양이 있어가 대체 무슨 거 포인트 뭐 진비 무슨 말이지 이제 그거는 그런다 예사고서 가면 제거의 희생지도 때문에 대화의 대지는 비지도는 사실 혹시 아버지 뭐 도와이나 일단 이 것을 예사고 계속 시비까지 노력시는 거였어.
As I always say, it is important and beneficial to conjoin whatever roots of virtue that we do through retrievals with the practice of six perfections. Thus, to conjoin these roots of virtue with the practice of six perfections, the first one is generosity. The nature of generosity is the intentions of giving. These roots of virtue of listening to, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma is for the sake of purifying the suffering and achieving the happiness of all sentient beings. Next is morality. The nature of morality is a mind of abandonment. When I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on the Dharma, I will abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest in these 2 hours. Next is patience. The nature of patience is an undisturbed mind. When I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on the Dharma, I will patiently accepting any physical or mental hardships that occur. Next one is joyous effort. The nature of joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. I will take delight in the virtue of listening to, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma. Next one is concentration. The nature of concentration is a mind that single-pointedly focuses on any virtuous object. I will single-pointedly focus my mind on the roots of virtue of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma without being influenced by distractions and negative discursive thoughts. Last one is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. I will properly and unmistakenly understand the words and meanings of the Dharma that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on. Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this purpose, I'm going to listen to the holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit all sentient beings.
Yeah,
ini tambo de inji toni shu ini pui toni shu ini inji toni shu ra so ni de chwa tambo de dang ring ngun sum di tu yo ma ro thank you tambo yeah so I've received some questions from Kishala, so I will read out the questions and then Kishala, then I'll ask Kishala and then Kishala give the answer. Kishala will answer those questions. So the first question is, Prasangika do not assert self-recognizing direct perceivers. And Kishala said in the class that this is because they do not assert establishment by way of his own character. And then the question is, can Kishala please elaborate on why or how this is the reason for Prasangika to not assert self-recognizing direct perceivers? Thanks. So this is the first question. Ini di tentu ini di ringon sum di tuju omaris. Ini yang Kishala yang jinan nalola yang ringon sum matu bikumzen de yang ringon sum di tuju omaris. Ini di tiwa de Kishala isi kero na di bikumzen. Ringon sum ini di rangi sen yimtu.
Kedange ringon sum de 그다 단지하게 가서 때까지 지모 쇼지를 까니 제나는 지레스 그때 저한테 도와도 하장에 보고 싶어했어요. 어쨌든 리시지할 때 가버렸어 봐. 난 저번에 이나 뒤지만 가서 지 보다 될 때, 빨리 보다 많이 필요하고 에 그때 가르스나 간다. 까니 제나는 지레 나라리 문제 받아랑 신이 좀 봐. 내가 투바래. 저 신이 좀 봐. 여기 왜 봐라 투바래스. 그때 이슈로 와. 다 가르스나 유진지 시바랑 신지 좀 봐. 키비 유튜브라 때문에 유진 좀 봐. 투도 그랬어. 근데 유진데 두비 유진자지를 넣어서 유진자지를 우리 매번 투바래스. 다 되는데 그 시에오래. 어다 두스 그 뒤지러 와. 뒤질 때 간다. 정말 나와. 와잖아. 와. 시나
So actually, this question, the first question itself, is also a very difficult question. It's a very tough question because this is one of the 8 difficult points in Prasangika system. So, however, I will summarize it, and then you will try to take some time to understand these difficult points in Prasangika systems. So, in order to answer this question, the answer for this question is in a brief way is through refuting
我那我就在这个
啊，
我那我是特别是
没那忘记，对，那时候，
我都搞这么做，那在哪里？那我们现在的时候，哪里这个参加了是，社会里我的这种哪里没有也是，哪里没有呢？每天变动嘛的是，别小玩意，我那我是，这些的为这个哪里去呢？我的让开门呢，我那我是变动嘛的也是，就是这个，那参加了哪里开门来玩呢？这些变动的也是。明白这些的解读的是，但是呢，我那我些，我那我些这个些个的，用我不人不多的，但是我那我些的天的，这些的解读的，你也不懂，哪里不有嘛也是，看着我那的讲话，
两个的听我的练的，
看着我那的是吧？我那我些，人把了。你用我不听不到，就我那我些的解读的也是，
我那我些填不了，
我那我些，这些解不了。
天比真是给吧，
给吧啦，你的永远不听不多见，我那我去天比这些的给读的，也不得让你不要嘛，也是
永远不
听不多见，那我那我去的给读的也是，这我是在哪里不要嘛，也是，
我那我是天比真是的给读有了，
也是。
Yeah. So, Prasangika, they do not assert self-cognizance or perceivers, or they do not assert self-knowers, right? So, however, other schools of tenets, they come and challenge Prasangika, saying that you need to assert self-knowers. If you do not assert self-knowers, you are unable to generate memory consciousness, remembering consciousness. So, for example, if you do not assert self-knower, or if you do not assert self-knower, you are unable to generate memory consciousness that remember sense consciousness to which blue appear. I repeat, the other school of tenets, they say, if you do not assert self-knower, you are unable to generate memory consciousness that remembers the sense consciousness to which blue appear. So to this, then Prasangika replied that in order to generate memory consciousness that remember sense consciousness to which blue appear, then one can generate by power. One can generate the sense consciousness. One can generate the memory consciousness that remember sense consciousness to which blue appear by the power of remembering the object blue. I repeat. So to answer these questions, Prasangika say that in order to generate memory consciousness, one can generate memory consciousness that remembers the sense consciousness to which blue appear. And it is generated by remember the object blue. is generated by the power of remembering blue. So by the power of remembering the object blue, one can generate the memory consciousness that remembers sense consciousness to which blue appear. I repeat the whole thing. So other school of tenets, they come and challenge Prasangika, saying that you need to assert self-knower. If you do not assert self-knower, you're unable to generate or you're unable to perceive memory consciousness that remembers, for example, sense consciousness to which blue appear. Then to answer these questions, Prasangika say that we can proceed the arising of memory consciousness that remembers the sense consciousness to which blue appear. How? It is by remembering. It is by the power of remembering the object blue. So in order to generate the memory consciousness that remembers sense consciousness to which blue appear. So then how? The way is by the power of remembering the object blue. So by the power of remembering the object blue, the memory consciousness that remembers the sense consciousness to which blue appear can arise. So later I will send you quotations from Bodhicharyavatara and also entering the middle way. So there are words quoted from these two texts, and I will send it to you. Then you take some time to think about it. Then you'll be able to understand a little bit what does it mean by they do not assert establishment by way of his own character, and because of this reason, they do not assert self-knowing, perceiver, or self-know. So because this is one of the 8 difficult points in Prasangika system, right? So I know it's difficult, so take some time to think about it. So later I will send out the words, send you some words, quotations, then you take some time to think about it. So later I will send you some words, and then you take some time to think about it. Then you will understand why this reason, not asserting establishment by way of his own character, is the reason for Prasangika to not assert self-knower. So then the second question that we received is the question: if it is a valid cognizer, it is not necessarily non-mistaken with respect to its determined object, because an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is a mistaken consciousness with respect to sound as impermanent. So if you are referring to the text, then you can turn to page 22. Page 22. Then Geshe-la explained that for Prasangika, this is because even though an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is a mistaken consciousness with regard to its determining object, it realizes its determining object. Hence, it is a valid cognizer. There is no contradiction or no fault. Whereas lower school assert that if it is mistaken with regard to the phenomena or to its phenomena, it is not valid cognizer. So the question is, can Geshe-la elaborate in this context, what does mistaken consciousness mean in Prasangika assertion, and what does it mean in lower school tenets assertion? So ini di ngaju picha nalola di yoro kasi te sema ina ini di matua makyap de ro rangi shenyu la machuwa ma kepe damita tobe jeba ina de chushe damita bala de chushe res ina de keshila gi yang de tishi gaware damita tobe jeba de chushe na rangi shenyu la chushe na yang rangi shenyu togi ores dewe na sema res ina de kawa yo mares dikyo yo mares ine tuta woma ina de rangi chela tuwa ina de sema mares ne teshe kishla gi an de engyo wa gi lu la tang tuta woma gi lu la de chushe de su kangi ba de songro de shi kabro na
다 된다 오면 완전 가진 것만 쉬자 된다 오면 지시 세워야 나이는 뭐 주시하는 shago
woma de chushe
나이는 주마 주기 전 나이는 주와서 지시 생장 차도 와 그래서 오면 그래서 지시 이미 세대 나이를 주기 받아 지시 진짜 된다 되와 나이를 주시 받아 와 딜레 shago래 다 간다 단조하게 되니까 대상지 shago요 말 지시 세워 다 된다 오면 다 보이나 맞아 로 된디 저도 간다 지시 내고요 로 되면 니가 지시 열어와
lo tendu nam lo mi tu niga yore
나 맞다 도지 디아바티 지시리 된다 오면 그러나 야 맞다 도지 디아바티 지시리
konda damita tobe
야 맞다 도지 디아바티 지시리 가르치는 지시리에서 양도 나이를 좋아해 아데
디단다 주자 woma
좋다 오면
damita tobe jeba de
지시리 가르치는 지시에서 양도 나이를 좋아해 다 나이는 트스트와도 된지를 담마다 또 된지다 담마다 된지를
damita
된지를 주고 와 나이는 좋아해 나이는 좋아해 마도 개인은 좋아다 지도주는 좋아 예수
damita gi tenji lo
된지를 좋아해 된지를 좋아해 나이는 좋아서 다 지시스 먹는 예수 어디래 그 나이는 좋고요 와 나이는 좋아서 지시스 먹는 예수 개인은 좋고 말해 지도주는 좋고 말했어 ramdato jabade rangi sheela dugo mare jidan jidan dugo mare sheedan jidan jidan kaza jam ta ba khana ba dile dugo mare do jidan ma
rangi shenyu tang jidan gi yu de dugo mare
dugo mare yes noyla dugo yes
yene de nang rangi nang yu la chwa ina de chuche So when we talk about lower schools their assertions on mistaken consciousnesses, if it is mistaken with its appearing object. If it is mistaken with its appearing object, then it is a mistaken consciousness. So this is according to lower school of tenets. So when we talk about factually concordant awareness and non-factually concordant awareness, so these two have the instances of mistaken consciousness as well. So for example, an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent. It is a mistaken consciousness. Why it is a mistaken consciousness? Because it is mistaken with regard to its appearing object. So what is the appearing object? The appearing object is the meaning generality of sound as impermanent. The meaning generality of sound as impermanent or the impermanent sound. So because of this reason, inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is a mistaken consciousness. So this inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is not mistaken with regard to its determining object and its the object of the modes of apprehension. And what is the determining object and what is the object of the mode of apprehension? And it is the impermanent sound or sound as impermanent. So even though this inferential cognizer is not mistaken with regard to these two objects, determining object and object of the modes of apprehensions, since it is mistaken with regard to its appearing object, which is the meaning generality of an impermanent sound, therefore it is a mistaken consciousness. So I repeat. So this is according to lower schools of tenets. So their assertions on mistaken consciousness is if it is mistaken with regard to its appearing object, then it is a mistaken consciousness. So we talk about factually concordant awareness and non-factually concordant awareness. These two have instances of mistaken consciousness. For example, an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent, it is a mistaken consciousness. So the reason it is a mistaken consciousness is because it is mistaken with regard to its appearing object. And its appearing object is the meaning generality of impermanent sound or sound as impermanent. So because of being mistaken with regard to its appearing object, it is a mistaken consciousness, even though this inferential cognizer is not mistaken with regard to its determining object and objects of the modes of apprehension. And what is the determining object and the object of the modes of differentiation? Object of the modes of apprehension, it is impermanent sound or sound as impermanent. 我知道我们
我知道嘛，就是说，但真正我们我是知识你嘛意思，我哪有了什么这个下不多啊？那对对对对吧？知识嘛哪有多下不多？那都对对就是。
So in brief, according to lower school of tenets, whether or not it is a mistaken consciousness depends on whether it is mistaken with regard to its appearing object on. Yeah. So this is say the explanation in brief.
那探究个对的，他看着，那探究个知识是话的，俺说，他毕竟是东林文送都为的，也是得了先吧，刚刚的升级用着这些人是吧？
文送读，
我东林文送都为一些得了先吧，
多为一些，
我是得了先为的，先把干的人呢，上上这些人是。
先别写吧，
我得了先写吧，
说建议，
我就才嘛，他爸爸那里就不来，他就升级成了爸爸那个了吧？东林文送都为两家，他比一些得了先比。东林文送都为老我就多比他一些得了先比老安个的，他出现的是，这出现一笔就是搞的是呢，让你轻易做不了，我也是让轻易做不弄的，也是
有让你轻易
做，有那些把一些就让你轻易做不，也弄过也是的，东林文送都为一些得了先嘛。
可是让你轻易做吧，卡里能有的，
有干的人弄不呢，有的让轻易做不弄也是，也弄了不也是，我电脑送咋，也干的这些也是。也是那这么大都去结巴就是吧？他这个这么大都去结巴的，这么大把了出来也是这么大把了，个人的这么大把了出来的，呀，知道我们的这个吗？
这么大把了，
这么大把了出去这个呢，这么大把让个亲戚就把拿，
这么大把的，
这么大把让亲戚就把拿，别出去是的，这么大把了出来出去这个这么大把让个亲戚就把拿，也是，让亲戚买东西的让个亲戚就把拿的。对，
因为这爸爸교기，东曼尼我就是特别也是连先别写吧，安个，因为这出现的，
先进写吧，
先进
就是说进老外不用，
先进嘅写吧，安个出现的，先进교기写吧。여기 시바 안가 그렇지 해서 이미 경쟁데 양 유랑이 생기기 또 만난기 원했어
시바 간지 유나 바이나
시바라
간지 유나 바이나 사람 진짜 만나 그랬어
시바라 유 가래 디난기 원한 이랑기 생기 난기 원했어 양배나 체전에 다음이다 또 제반이 이디 다음이다 발라 이투기 원했어
이제 다음이다 발라 진짜 만나고 그랬어
다음이다 바데랑이 생기 또 만난기 원했어 And then, according to Prasangika system, then their assertions on mistaken consciousnesses, consciousnesses in the continuum, in sentient beings continuum, other than the wisdom directly realizing in the directly realizing emptiness in the continuum. Okay. All consciousnesses in sentient beings continuum, other than the exalted wisdom that directly realizing emptiness in the Arya's continuum, are all mistaken consciousness. I repeat, Prasangika assertions on mistaken consciousness is all consciousnesses in the mind stream in sentient beings' mind stream, other than the exalted wisdom that directly realizing emptiness in Arya's continuums, other than that, so all consciousnesses in the sentient beings continuum are mistaken consciousness. Okay. Other than the exalted wisdom directly realizing emptiness in Arya's continuums, all consciousnesses in sentient beings continuum are mistaken consciousness. That's why I rearranged the order of the sentence. So other than the exalted wisdom that directly realizing emptiness in Arya's continuums, all consciousnesses in sentient beings continuums are mistaken consciousness. So this is Sankhika's assertions on mistaken consciousness. Reason being, whatever object appears to such consciousness, it appears it appears as established by way of its own character. So why Prasankhika say that all consciousnesses in sentient beings continuum, other than the exalted wisdom, then are all mistaken consciousness, because whatever object that appears to the consciousness in the mind stream of all, in the sentient beings mind stream, it appears as established by way of its own character. So because of this reason, whatever object it appears to consciousness in sentient beings mind, in sentient beings continuum, it appears as established by way of its own character. So because of this reason, Prasankhika say that all consciousnesses in sentient beings continuum are mistaken consciousness. For example, an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent, and it is mistaken with regard to the sound as impermanent, or the impermanent sound. So why it is mistaken with regard to the sound as impermanent? Because this impermanent sound appears as established by way of its own character. I repeat, the example that I mentioned just now is an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent, and it is mistaken with regard to the impermanent sound. Why is it mistaken with regard to the impermanent sound? Because this impermanent sound appears as established by way of its own character. So because of this reason, we say that an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is mistaken with regard to the impermanent sound as impermanent. Sema yimin rangi jindangi yu tomato. Tingyu lula ne de sema yimin ne de rangi jindangi yu de tomato. The low tone between sema ma. Rangi jindangi yu de Tokyo mare. Tokyo mare ene What do we can say? So even though for Prasangika, an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is a mistaken consciousness. So it is mistaken with the impermanent sound, as I mentioned just now, right? So the impermanent sound is its determining object, and it is also the object of the modes of apprehension. So even though this inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent is a mistaken consciousness with regard to these two objects, however, it doesn't mean that it doesn't realize the object. If it does realize the object, so, and because of realizing the object, it is a factually concordant thought, factually concordant awareness. You did a mato marwa, you said in the rangi shen you tang, I think you did mato mari, the Tokyo race, Tokyo race, and the Kimsen the young low race. Yeah, so this inferential cognizer, realizing sound as impermanent, realizes six dimensions just now, two objects, determining object and also object of the modes of apprehension. So why does this inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent realizes these two objects? Because it is a actually concordant awareness. So as compared to this, a conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn, and the Tokyo, ranjin toba ina the rangi shen yutang, jinda the Tokyo mari. Tokyo mari jinda yu yo. And this another example is conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn. So this conceptual consciousness apprehending rabbit's horn doesn't realize its determining object and doesn't realize the object of the modes of apprehension. Why does it not realize these two objects? Because there is no such object of the modes of apprehension, or there is no such determining object. There is no rabbit's horn. And this conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn is since it doesn't realizes these two objects, therefore it is not a factually concordant awareness. So in other words, this conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn is a non-factually concordant awareness. It is not a valid cognizer. So for Prasangika, whether it is a valid cognizer or not, it depends on whether it realizes its object of the modes of apprehensions or not. If it realizes its object of the modes of apprehension, then it is a valid cognizer. And if it doesn't, then it is not a valid cognizer. Sema yimi ne te rangi tindangi yu to ma to da rangi shen yu de to ma to ne te jiba jiga ina.
rangi sema so de mali riba chimi chini ro. mali riba chimi chini rangi. 진짜 봐. 그래서 rangi 진짜 줄라 뭐 왔어.
rangi tindangi yu mi lo wa da.
뭐 와 있으나 다 sema yu.
rangi tindangi yu mi lo wa da rangi shen yu.
그 시에도 있더라.
봐라. 이 sema 레스.
이다 지에들라 뭐 chanта 간다 sema 스. 이다 지에 뭐 왔어. 이다 지라 뭐 왔다 진짜 지에 또 와. 밀루와 양디 또 봐. 아니 일라 머리 이거 침이 생기세.
밀루와 대 또봐 장기 진행 유대 또 요래. So for Prasangika system, they assert the definitions of a valid cognizer as a knower, an incontrovertible knower, an incontrovertible knower. So that is the definitions of valid cognizers. So from this perspective of being incontrovertible with regard to its object of the modes of apprehension, or being incontrovertible with its determining object, then one is considered as a valid cognizer. So from this perspective of from the perspective of being incontrovertible with regard to its object of the modes of apprehension or determining object, then one is considered as a valid cognizer. So in other words of saying this is, in other words of saying incontrovertible with regard to the object of the modes of apprehension is it realizes the object of the modes of apprehension. Huh?
写的多嘛都不管我了。
写下多嘛都。啊？
多有点。
你做完呢把啲？
写下多嘛。
写下多吧。写下。
哦，
你写下多吧？你就睇嘛，你貼下啲咧，簡單嘅要當寫下。啊，啲音都鬆啲唔嘅，睇得。啊，所以啲音都鬆啲吧。So then there's another question is related. 工作嚟其實幾個人啊啲頭髮有咩？So another question is related to this question also. So the question is what is the difference between an object of the modes of apprehensions and an object of comprehensions? I suppose so an object of comprehension. So what is the difference between an object of the modes of apprehension and an object of comprehension? Oh, yeah. Ini tentang you tang seja di kewa kare yo nas. Seja tentang you di ini kewa kare yo nas.
Jadi orang dia tu mata kita sih tu dia marah.
Ah?
Ini di seja ni deh.
Ah. Di je lah. Ah.
Dan jika juga seja sewa. Itu ada seja sewa de you lo progress. Seja sewa de you, ija you apa seja.
如是呀，
有，今天有吧，今天有吧，家家有，去，这个几包的吧，有，去这个几包，现在上这个有空的是，但其他就是说的嘛，这别想干嘛做，估计多半他不行，估计多半其他有点不怕的，是吧？
本身多把嘢简单嘅，
不怕可能的，我的，我做的。王先了把家外那东面这些把家外那文字没写的，那就得不怕了的。
文字没写。
王先了东面这些把它多把你个人打了。
简单嘅，
简单就。
样不怕咯。
不的，我简单就的，他看我电话想这个话，学校时候就当我注意成你了过来是。
ini tinang wa se yo ro ajala. So icha tinang lo. Laso. So to answer these questions, in general, when we talk about object of comprehension, so object of comprehension is mutually inclusive with object of knowledge, existence, established base, object, and phenomena in general. So these are mutually inclusive. I repeat, object of comprehension, object of knowledge, and existence, established base, object, I repeat twice really, and phenomena. So these are mutually inclusive. And we talk about, as for object of the modes of apprehension. So for example, object of the modes of apprehension for a conceptual consciousness apprehending thoughts is the thought itself is the object of the modes of apprehension. Then this is conceptual consciousness, right? And another example for non-conceptual consciousness is the object of the modes of apprehension for an eye consciousness apprehending a food. Then the object of the modes of apprehension is the same. The modes of apprehension for these two instances are the same. Huh? 下家多嘛多，下家多嘛多。你当今就话电脑落来，你有什么？你出些咯，出些刚刚的，出些刚刚的。但係你哋下家當真正有團隊現在有哪一些？
等到的。谈句了，然后下下多嘛，都是给这个下下手是吧？谈句了，看到先把人心情，然后现在都强的时候，然后现在都强的谈句了。
好的，下下多嘛都是的。
谈句了，谈句了，先把人心情了， rangi shaja tom chawas. Yes. Wa.
Rangi shaja.
Yes. After the mazo, the tangi to bata. The tangi to bata with the rangi shaja tom. Yes. Wa.
Tangi to bata.
Rangi shaja tom. Yes.
Rangi shaja.
Rangi to bata. Rangi shaja tom. Yes. This rangi shaja tom. So that. Rangi to bata. Rangi rangi.
Rangi shaja de kare chare.
Rangi raja de ta. Tangi to bata. Nawa. Jatabi, Jatawa Nawa Yorwa,
Jatabi Nawa.
Jatabi Jana Divere.
Jatabi Nawa Yana Chokyi.
Jebati Nawa. Rangi Nawa di Kanda, Nawa de la Sema is Gova, Musu Sema. Sheba is Rangi Nawa and Musu Sema, yes, Rangi Nawa de la.
Rangi shaja de kare chare.
Rangi Yajate, Sheba in Shinjila, Rangi Shajate, Ore, that Tanji Tobati Jatabi Turju, Rura Tobati, Yanchi Cinema is Nawa.
Tabe Tunji and not the Tabe Nawadi. Oh, Rangi shaja de Togyo.
Yanchi de Shajaris, Nipoyaris. That no term of Dibarwa, that Tanji Toba, Goran Toba, the Zobe, and I'm turning to this. That turns it to us, not Rangi Shaja told you, yes. Well, no, turn it to another Shaja to a hero. No term of it to ground, she told you, and let it away. No turn Shaja to a hero.
Mamitobe,
Japati, that to
the Rangi shaja, the young Mitabi, Nangwa, or so in a Prasangika system, whether it realizes the object of comprehensions or not, whether one realizes the object of comprehensions or not, it depends on, so when Prasangika assert that whether one realizes the object of comprehensions or not, so they say that as long as it is a conceptual consciousness, as long as it is a consciousness, it necessarily realizes its object of comprehension. So in our text, then you also can see these statements. So as long as it is a consciousness, it necessarily realizes its object of its object of comprehension. Then an example is an example of non-factually concordant awareness, a conceptual consciousness apprehending sound as permanent. So this conceptual consciousness apprehending sound as permanent is a non-factually concordant awareness, right? Then even these conceptual consciousness apprehending sound as permanent realizes its object of comprehension. So what is the object of what is its object of comprehension? Its object of comprehension is appearance of permanent sound. Appearance of permanent sound, or the meaning generality of permanent sound. The appearance or meaning generality, permanent sound. Yeah. So even a non-factually concordant awareness realizes its object of comprehension. So don't mention those actually concordant awareness. For example, an inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent. So this inferential cognizer realizing sound as impermanent also realizes its object of comprehension. And its object of comprehension is the appearance or meaning generality of impermanent sound. Rangi nawala.
Yes. Rangi nawala yes. Rangi nawala Sema inda mide rangi jidaji yuti to ma do sha yin ba da ki ma sa yin ba ji sha sa wa
sema yingo maris
da tang ji to ba de rangi nawa la ngi su ji sema re ro ra ji to ba de rangi nawa la ngi su ji sema re rangi nawa la ngi su ji sema yin sema yin bu re be de gu ma re sema yin na rangi jidaji yuti to ho wa ko ji ko ni ga lo de ma di ba wa 罗西的话，罗西的人你知道有多少几个嘛的话，罗西的人你知道有个新几罗出啥的话，我也给他嘛。
罗西那地方你知道有的都有。
我有帮我马工的。
So again, Prasangika asserts that conceptual consciousness apprehending sound as permanent, and another example, conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn. So these two conceptual consciousnesses are valid cognizer, are direct valid cognizer with regard to its appearance. I repeat, two instances or two examples. Conceptual consciousness apprehending sound as permanent, and another example, a conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn. So these two conceptual consciousnesses are direct valid cognizer with regard to its appearance in Prasangika's system. So they are direct valid cognizer with regard to its appearance. So if you were to ask, does it mean this direct valid cognizer with regard to its appearance is a valid cognizer? So I rephrase. They are direct valid cognizer with regard to its appearances, right? With regard to their appearances. So these direct valid cognizer with regard to their appearances, are they necessarily a valid cognizer or not? And the answer is no. So they are not necessarily a direct valid cognizer. So because as previously I mentioned just now, the definition defined by Prasangika, so the definitions of a valid cognizer defined by Prasangika is rangi singyu la di miluwa milu ribarwa yeah di rangi singyu miluwa se
rangi zita ju de chema yin bure es chema yin de rangi zita ju de chema yin rangi zita ju de chema yin rangi zita ju de miluwa
yeah, so the definitions of valid cognizer defined by Prasangika is an incontrovertible knower, right? So previously I mentioned this. So what does it and it is incontrovertible with regard to its determining object, with regard to the object of the modes of apprehension. It is incontrovertible with regard to the object of the modes of apprehensions or determining objects. So another way of saying this is it realizes its object of the modes of apprehensions or determining objects. So these two, so these two are not valid cognizer. The conceptual consciousness apprehending sound as permanent and conceptual consciousness apprehending a rabbit's horn. So these two are not valid cognizer because they do not realize the object of the modes of apprehension. They are wrong consciousness.
단주가 제말 배제당 가서 지시 제만 이러고 단주가 변화되는 거야. 지시 제만 이러고 주다 오마도 지시 제만 뭐로 와. 지시 제만 많이 넣어 와. 지시서 도스도 비바 들어와. 도스도 비바 들어와. 단주의 지시 제만 이런 것은 제만 이러고 와. 단주의 제만 배동 배 나와 싶으려고.
어디 주다 오마는 지시 제만 뭐로 와. 제만
뭐로 와. 단주의 지시는 제만 이러고 와.
원숭이 제만.
chema yin lo ga de ji shi de rang de zita ji go ge di cha de chema de wo ji shi de rang de zita ji to cha de chema de la shi jo
de yo ji shi na de rang yi zin de yu
da ji shi chema yo de da zhe de wo ma de ji shi chema ma ro
and lower schools, when they assert a subsequent cognizer is not a valid cognizer in lower school tenets. However, for Prasangika Madhyamaka, a subsequent cognizer is a valid cognizer because it realizes its object of the modes of apprehension. Yeah, so then another question is question on the path and grounds for the Hinayana practitioners according to Prasangika presentation. Geshe-la said that when a Hinayana practitioner reaches the path of meditation, he starts to abandon the innate afflictive obscuration, and when the innate afflictive obscurations have been abandoned, he has achieved the path of normal learning of the state of a Hinayana arhat. The question is, do the Hinayana practitioners abandon the innate afflictive obscuration divided over 9 stages, like the Mahayana practitioners, over the 10 grounds of the Hinayana path of meditation? Ini di temingi salam gi kola kan di siayus dua lul temingi salam di kola kan di siayus ini kisah lagi temen baci na komlam de top tu nyundi pengi pangya koju guys ini di nyundi pengi pang bana di milolam de toile di temingi tadi mati toiles ini di tiwat biru dan temen baina yang kata peche man nangxing nyundi pengi cheding chung 부 림바 신도 디방디 요나스 this kata di 사주 코니 사주 남샤
테네라 데 노래 간다 나도 테네라 사주스는 게 시야가 요 말이스 요 말로와 다 테메디 본라지 내가서 와서 니도 근다 네 본라지 와
공다가 데 테미나 디 사주 남샤데 요 말이
사주 나데 요 말
so yeah so first of all in Hinayana, there is no such presentations of 10 grounds.
테메지 가서 가서 본라지 본라 달랑아 요와 본라 달랑아 요와 다 본라지 급서 가서 니도 근다다 그래 본라지 가서 본라지가 니도 근다
공기요
디봉비레스 본라지 가서 니도 근다 본라 메시지고에 메시 니도 근다 본레스
배전식이요
본라 가서 니도 근다 본레스.
So in Hinayana, they also talk about 5 paths. So on the path of seeing, then those practitioners, they put effort in abandoning intellectually acquired afflictive obscurations. In other words of saying this is imputed, so probably imputed or intellectually acquired afflictive obscurations.
나 고나지 가서 당가서 니디데 이거 니디 해지들 와. 나 고나지 가서 가서 고나 빠치면 하러 다 니디 고나 빠치면 니디라 잡아이나. 고나 빠치면 할때 진리 총송 아무 데서 빠치면 쳔보 리 총송 쳔보 리 총송으로 와. 다 쳔보들 진리 총송 리들 진리 총송 중국의 진리 고나 빠치면 하고 고나 빠치면 하고 자. 고나 빠치면 하고 자. 예스.
고나 빠치면
뭐
when they are on the path of meditations, nyundi pengi di pangi yore. So on the path of meditation, for example, hearers. So then this uninterrupted path of hearers, path of meditations. I repeat, the uninterrupted path of meditation of the hearers is 3. So great, medium, and small. I repeat, the uninterrupted path of meditation for hearers, it has 3. The 3 are great, medium, small. And then each of them, so for example, each of them has great, medium, small again. So for example, the great, then great has great, medium, and great, small. So similarly, medium, then medium, great, medium, small. So then they proceed 9 uninterrupted path of meditation.
다 고나 맞으면 고도와. 고되게 단 오야게 니들렌지들라 진리 총수 니들라 진리 총수와.
연딘 행게
다 니들렌지를 간단히
공기요.
오나디 니들로 고반 니들로 와. 다 고반 니들라 진리 총수. 진리 총수는 다 전부들라 진리 총수 리들라 진리 총수 고들라 진리 총수와. 다 뒤쪽에 그래서 고나데 담고 고나 내고 진게 고나 받치면 충분한 거지. 내고 진게 내고 진게 고나 받치면 충분히. 다 충분히 가르포와 저것은 니들 된지 침비 침못 침비 침못에 그래 침비 침못 좀 이렇게
금방 윤집돼요.
공부 니들 침비 침못 유바데 침보니야 담은 것들이 년보다 충분히 파로 제거했어 와 뭐 들리시네 아무 데고 그랬어 아무 고나 받치면 충분히 되게 바로 본 거잖아 니들 현재 침비 침못 공부 니들 현재 침비 침못 아무 침못
So this how's it? So they proceed 9 uninterrupted paths of meditations, right? So these 9 uninterrupted paths of meditations, they abandon the innate afflictive obscurations. So in other words, is afflictive obscurations abandoned by path of meditations. So these 9 uninterrupted paths of meditations abandon innate afflictive obscurations. Other way of saying this is afflictive obscurations abandoned by path of meditations. So this is also divided into great, medium, and small. So the objects of abandonment also divided into 3, great, medium, and small. And then great also further divided into great, medium, and small. So they are small, great, medium, great, small, medium, great, medium, medium, small. So there are 9 afflictive obscurations abandoned by path of meditation as well. So, and when they apply the antidotes, the Nyingbo Chingen, yeah. So the 9 ngơi thì phải còn nó phải chỉ 15 cụ sẽ để ngơi nhẹ rồi. Nguyên điệp gì ngơi nhẹ rồi. Không để ngơi nhẹ. Yeah, so these 9 uninterrupted paths of meditations are the actual antidotes that abandon afflictive obscurations. So when we talk about the actual antidotes, then it starts from small. So when previously we talked about the 9 uninterrupted path of meditations, then it divided into 3, and then 3 further divided into 3 also, right? So it becomes 9. So great, medium, great, small, for example. So when we talk about the 9 uninterrupted paths of meditations, that are the actual antidotes that to abandon afflictive obscurations. So it starts from the small. So and when we talk about the afflictive obscurations that are the objects of abandonment, then it starts from great. So so antidotes start from small, then obscurations then start from great.
관자의 전부의 말을 바기도 관때 맞춤 관자의 맞춤 와 전부 파워를 리반에 중국말 두세 바기 맞는 거와 그래서 도로 잡아 쳐야 돼 배상 시고 또 도로라 잡아 쳐가 담보 잡아 전부도 이게 하는 거죠 잡아 충분히 쉬는 하는 거야 그 하는 거야 아 쉬는 양자 주도 잡아 쳐야 돼 내가 주도로 와 담보 잡아 쳐야 돼 도로 늘 배상 거 그래서 네
So when we talk about antidotes, then antidotes starts from the small one. So when we apply the antidotes start from small. And the object of abandonment, when we talk about object of abandonment, when it is first abandoned, it starts from the great one. So great as in coarse. The example is when our dirty clothes. So dirty clothes, they are different. They are different stains, right? So some stains are coarse, as in easy to wash away, and then there are stains. There are stubborn stain or half stain that is difficult to wash away. So when you first wash it, then those stain that is easy to wash away, then you will when you in the during the first wash, then this stain easy to be washed away, then it will remove. And then when you wash again, however, those tough stain will still, is still there, right? It's not clean yet. So, and then when you wash again and again, then those tough stain will be washed away. So similar to this example, when we apply the antidote starts from small. And when the objects of abandonment, then is abandoned start from great. So great as in easy to be removed. Kimbo saya tiang di apa yang lelau ayo ro.
다 첨부되라. 그것이 시골하다. 다 라빠데 맞아. 내라하지. 저와도 뭐 충분히도 빨리 카르카르.
님부 충세 대한 님부 인류바데 충충와.
당부 거님부 주주지 말고 말해.
예바다 보러 님부 인류바.
님부들 뭐 주주시오데 충와다 님부 이발로 뒤지 충와. 지금 내가 이거 무슨 이발. 전부도 이거 쳐봤지. 어디로 와. 그 참아들 고나 친빙 제모들이 고나 친빙 제모들이 빠져 타마 눈이 좋지. 공부님
방제 타마
빠져 타마 공부님 충충 저러와. 어다 님 보시는 예뽕 받았다 내주지 몰라 받아 배좀 받아 나.
빵네. 디
예뽕 받아. 내주지 몰라 받아 니 배좀 받아 나. 고나 친빙 제모지와. 어찌면은 고나 빠치면은 친빙 제모 되게 공부님 충충 데려와. 중을 때 니네신의 때 가디 공부이나 뭐나 받치면한테 니들이 몰라나 뭐도스 니들이 몰라나 뭐도 대다 좀 맞도 네가 더 와.
니들이다 좀
어디
So when we say how's it the antidotes how's it great it start from small right. The antidotes, it starts from small, and object of abandonment then starts from a great, right? So antidotes, small antidotes means that the ability of the antidotes is small. When you first start, then the antidote is the ability of the antidote is small. And when you say the great object of abandonment is abandoned, so great object of abandonment means that the coarse one. So the coarser object of abandonment will be first abandoned. So this is what it means by great and small in the context of antidotes and objects of abandonment. So and then when we proceed along the path, when we proceed further, then the last uninterrupted path of meditations is the great. So it starts from antidote wise, and it starts from small, right? So the end of it, the last one, so the uninterrupted path of meditation is the great. So it abandons the small object of abandonment. So the last object of abandonment is small as in subtlest. So whenever the small object of abandonment is abandoned by great path of meditation, uninterrupted path of meditations, then at the same time one achieve the path of no more learning of a hearer, and one also become a hearer's arm.
네, 당연히 재미있는 것도 시대 그래서 지금 왔을 때 같이 실사하다 시구마로. 이거 실사로 같이.
그래서 지산이디 림바 구세데 테메이나 다니 디테지나 다 디지바지가로. 이네한테 사주
지금은 스타일을 제가 가가잖아요.
사주 남샤디 요리데 니 테메이나 디 남샤. 이니디 가자 디년 랭게 치리 교섭 구세데 그 당대 지바지가. 이 유어바 아니 디 지바지가래. So the 가자 the 9 stages of great, medium, small, of innate, afflictive obscurations are asserted by Hinayana, are asserted in Hinayana and asserted in Mahayana system as well. The difference is Hinayana do not talk about the presentations of, do not talk about 10 paths, and Mahayana they talk about 10 paths.
What do you That do I any question?
대한 이제 또 현다 도기라. 대단도 참아서. 대단도 지구보다 제가 곧 심서. Yeah, so another question is, in the sequence of higher to lower view on emptiness, we know Prasangika Madhyamika holds the highest view and Vaibhashika lowest. So the question is, below Prasangika Madhyamika, which is second, Sautrantika Svatantika Madhyamika or Yogacara Svatantika Madhyamika. Why? Jawab dije, tungi tawala. Ini te thank you aina. Thank you jimi tawati adu res, yana tosho res. Ini te chitama wate, ini masho res. Ini te tanda tawa tatu niwate suinas, kimzing harinas.
Tawa tatu pe kushi dawo ta tandu res. Iba ranji wale wores ta tawa ni barwa. Te jela ranji wale wores. Te wal masin da wale wores tawa. Wa
Ini tiang misi yang to di cubi umarang yo baina ta di cubi umarang yo.
Ora di ba tawa ci kola pan wa. Tai wala kanda chena di demba tibe tawa tawa bali wa.
Chitamji.
O chena di demba tibe ta ba yi shinje la. Demba tibe tawa kiri wa ta.
Chitamji demba tuba. Demba tubi toma.
Demba tuba kiri wa. Kada lo ni me la na sho ni ro tu ni ni wala to shin mi ba to di ji mo ma na ji mo ma chi ba chi yo ma ni ga lo ni me la na wo sho ma yi ro ni ji wala tu to a se de wa ta chi ga sha gi yo do me ga sha de wa
ini chitamji demba tubi
to a
di
to ba ni de wa
ini na yana di tanda lo me la.
ko de
De chibari. Tenda chibari. So the answer for these questions is Prasangika Madhyamika view is the highest or the final or ultimate. And then the second highest is Svatantika Madhyamika. So Svatantika Madhyamika. So why, and is, how's it, in between these two, Svatantika Madhyamika and Yogacara Svatantika Madhyamika. So how's it, they are both the second highest. So why they are both the second highest is because they are both equally asserting that all phenomena are empty of truly existence. So because they are both equally in asserting that all phenomena are empty of truly existence, therefore both of them, Svatantika Madhyamika and Yogacara Svatantika Madhyamika, are their view are the second highest. So, and these all phenomena, emptiness of true existence is, in terms of meaning, then they are same with the object's emptiness. The object's emptiness, you rangi dulugi juba tongba dube tongba de ra.
ta debut to ala de che ran de to se du.
That's all. De jiboti na de ra. That's right. Yeah, so sorry. Yeah, so in terms of view, they are equally, these two, Svatantika Madhyamika and Yogacara Svatantika Madhyamika, they are equally in asserting this view, which is all phenomena are empty of true existence. Therefore, these two are the second highest. Another question is, other than refuting another position, do the Madhyamika have their own positions or assertions? Because they think umaba na de susugi to yunas. Did Tamjade, Susugi Tamja Yunas, anything Shinki, Tamja Kaba Le Shenbi, Kawale, Susugi Tamja Yunas.
What is
it? Chiwa Tamari.
Get to what did this? Dig also to what did it? Dig out to Zora Juriste. At the Zawa Sharon and Liver and the Zedon see you do. Zaba Liver and Zawa Sharon alone, Mr. Liver. That didn't want to Zaba Liver. Oh, Mabin Kanda Shuna Loma, Umabi Shuna Loma. Wa Tanja Meva Sicila, Tanja Umabin, Tanja Meva Sicila to be to where is Sicila, Wa Simba. Uma show me Sicila, Tanja Umabi, Uma Tanjo, Tanja Meva Sicila, live your yes.
Umabala, Tanja Meva,
Sicila, Umabi Shona, Uma Tanju Shona, and the Sicila to be Tanja Meva Sicila, she your yes. And this shows that part of the Zoba. But no Oma Tanjo, Tanja Yomares, Tanja Yomares, so to Stava Levity.
Uma by Nati Uma Tinua.
Oma Tenduas, Oma Tenduas. Uma Tanduala Tanja Medus, Zavas, Tanja Vipicana, Oma Vishun, shown to Zola Petsila, the Tanja Mevatani Lojan Musin, that's about Zava. That's about Zava. In this show, Oma Vishun Alo, they did Sisila, Tanja Yomari, and Seloyati, Oma Tanjua, Patelpa, Linjo. It's about Lewa. Uma Tanjuala Tanja, we do a patient Tanja, we do, Uma Tanjuala Tanja, we do Kaisna, Uma Bishun Alo, Chung Nimbo Zonalo, see what Simbala, Uma Tanja, we do say larger to us, season low to us. The laws that Uma Tanjuala Tanja, we do was a deal lower. That deal apart later or what Tanja may become Mare. That see, Bishun or season of Tanja, your Mare is Layate. Uma Tanjuala, Rank is synergy to be. Tanja your Mares, yes, Martin Luala, Matanjo, Rank is synergy to what maybe under your Mares, or Rank is to what killing Tanja. Rank is synergy to what killing Tanja the your Mares, show it there, another Delaware, yes. Umi Shonalo, Uma Tanjuala Tanja, Medus, Tanja your Mares, it's season and Rojan to use it. The law is that Uma Tanjuala, and that's all in the Yomas, Dicky your Mares. Uma Tanjuala. Rank synergy to what killing with Tanja Mendus and a deal yes. The killing woman is Uma Tanjo rank synergy to be Tanja killing woman, a church Tanja rank synergy Madua killing woman. What Tanjo with Tanja Tatu Karusna, the Tanja rank synergy Madua killing, but the Tanja did it. He killing with Tanja did it. What? They did killing, but they did a church Tanja, Shashi left in Naja, I'm not taking this. What Tanjo Tanja did that. The Tanja rank synergy Madua killing Tanja did. Killing Tanja did it. Tanja your stress. And that shown on your Maris where it is. Young Tinity to a killing the Tanja your Maris tender did. She will yes, no. Not the Sharon the moment. We may know as a Cicilla like that. Cicilla, you know, what kind of Sharon would it want to be the nation door. Lady goes with that. What hunting? Conduct the more about the Shigero. Who Tanja and Madu pleasure of
你同几多人？
秘密那边，秘密那边的我的那其实那边的，原来那边你让政治的话，让人做，而不是给看了嘛去上来的。我谈的在讲，我谈的在讲，一我那个样子，我去打我是有了，我那在讲，一东北那个样子，我去打我是，但我啥子个？你老是的，父母那个在讲，一东北样子，你到对我第一节了嘛，秘密那是马上就会了，你当不了啥子个？对了，不知道你我不知道你，其实那个你老讲不是的，
这些雷顺文提过了，
所以这个让经历过这样那个第一点的学习的时候，大家他错对的时候，我谈就了。
你说你建议马祖吧，
杨这个第一点的，
第一点多。
哦，他让对吧？让经历这个开的是第一个学习的那可以马的时候。
也就Yeah, so these questions, other than refuting another position, do the Madhyamaka have their own positions or assertions, right? So actually, this is the arguments. If you read fundamental treatises on the middle way called wisdom or the refutations of objections, then you will see this argument. So, in Madhyamaka text, then there are words saying that Prasangika Madhyamaka have no assertions or have no thesis. So these are the literal words saying that Prasangika Madhyamaka have no thesis or have no assertions. So then other school of tenets, and then those proponents, they come and argue with Prasangika Madhyamaka, saying that you see your text also saying that you do not have thesis or do not have assertions. So then Prasangika Madhyamaka, they reply to those proponents of lower school of tenets, saying that it says that Prasangika Madhyamaka have no thesis. It doesn't mean it literally. So because so it doesn't mean that they do not have thesis or do not have assertions. So it doesn't mean literally. What it means is Prasangika Madhyamaka do not have thesis that asserts the establishment by way of its own characteristic. So I repeat, Prasangika, they answer to those proponents of lower school of tenets, right? So they say that other school of tenets, they say, oh, you don't have theses or you don't have positions. So, and then Prasangika reply them that the actual meaning of this not having theses or do not have assertions is, Prasangika Madhyamaka do not have a thesis or assertions that accept the establishment by way of its own character. So that is the actual meaning of not having thesis or not having positions, because they do not have the thesis that asserts the establishment by way of its own character. So so what is the positions? So does Madhyamaka have assertions or positions or not? Yes, Prasangika Madhyamaka have assertions, and their assertions is all phenomena do not exist by way of its own character. And based on this, all action, agent, and objects are attainable. In other way of saying this is all cause and effect are attainable. On this basis, the basis of all phenomena are not established by way of its own character. So, just now I say that Prasangika Madhyamaka literally they do not have thesis or positions, right? Because in the Heart Sutra it says that there is no I, there's no ear, and etc. So and this Heart Sutra is asserted by Prasangika Madhyamaka as the Sutra of definitive meaning. So even though the literal words, it seems like no eye, no ear, and etc. However, the quality that So, however, you can see that actually the quality has already applied to the rest of the Heart Sutra, because at the beginning of it, it says that you should see those five aggregates also as not having inherent existence. So since the words has already say that you should see those five aggregates as not having inherent existence. So when it says that no eye and no ear and etc., this quality of not being inherent existence is applied to the rest of the Heart Sutra. Yeah, so any other question? So I have finished the question submitted before.
And in that case, what Geshe-la mentioned, so can we utilize the Prasangika Madhyamaka as well as the Sautantrika Madhyamaka in our meditation on taking the three kayas into the path? For example, we can use the Prasangika to meditate on the taking dash into the path of the Dhammakaya, and you can use the other one, the Sautantrika, for taking the Nirvana Kaya, the Sambhogakaya, and Nigamakaya into the path. That means you visualize as if from a base of emptiness, you arise in the various aspects of the mandala and the deity. I think it makes sense that way. But of course, if you use Prasangika straight away, it's no problem. So I was thinking, for beginners, it could be done in two ways. One, the Dhammakaya using the understanding of Prasangika, and the Nirvana Kaya using the understanding of Sautantrika Madhyamaka. Is that something that can be utilized? Is it in order or is it confusing?
Means the three kayas into bringing three kayas into power.
Yeah, make them using two tenets, using Prasangika.
By using two tenets, Prasangika Madhyamaka and Sautantrika Madhyamaka.
Yeah, for the meditation.
Yeah, so
I just want interested to find out. You know, it makes sense to me.
So ini di kusum lam tu kia ro, kusum lam tu kia di yang tingyu wadang rangyu ba niga gi de chu tiene di yamne di chena di yunas. Kusum lam kien di ini dia tinggi watang ajang coba ni gitu soal ini.
지난데 동화서 따와데 단조가 따와서 상상하는 시험으로지. 그동안 지금 와. 그동안 어디 좀 동화들 상상 그와. 그동안 이제 그것은 어찌 가는 거서 또 다들 어디를 상상 그와. 일단에 이 단조가 따와디가 놓으랬어.
ini dia 장교바 dia 좋아요 말아.
그런 집을 진짜 뭐 키는 거.
Yeah. So when we say when we practice bringing three kayas into path, then one should follow the final view, which is asserted by Prasangika Madhyamaka, that has the emptiness of inherent existence. Emptiness of inherent existence, because if you were to follow the assertions by Svatantika Madhyamaka, they do assert the establishment by way of its own character, right? Yeah. So when we practice three kayas into path, one should follow the final view asserted by Prasangika Madhyamaka. The tanya yo maro is like
this was another Ranji thought this legacy of the legal is constant. Ranji member to be told the killing world. Member to be killed on the killing world. The Inata, Rangi seem to be told killing world.
So when you say mix with as it the Prasangika Madhyamaka, independence on Prasangika Madhyamaka views and Svatantika Madhyamaka view. So you mix these two together, and then how's it bringing three kayas into path, right? So they are concordance, or they are similar points asserted by Svatantika Madhyamaka and Prasangika Madhyamaka, which is empty of true existence. So if you are thinking from this perspective that things do not exist, things are empty of true existence, then from this point of view, then how's it this view are common to these two sub-schools. And however, if you were to think about the establishment by way of its own character, then since it is asserted by Svatantika Madhyamaka, then one should follow the assertions asserted by Prasangika Madhyamaka.
Okay, thank you. There's a thought.
So ini dia samlu ciri sa. Samsu dah wajib.
Yeah, thank you. Government ki loja na.
Nah.
Ki loja na ko.
Kisah cik song ibe. Oh, any other question?
Okay. Maybe I ask one question. Is the object of mode of comprehension and determined object is the same?
You see, object of the modes of comprehension. Do you mean object of comprehension?
Yes. Object of comprehension.
Yeah. Object of comprehension
and
determining object.
Determining object.
So are they the same? Is it?
Yes.
That's all. Yeah. 那写家堂显有的几百年写家堂显有几百年。
基本말이지. 샤자세와 지당 가서 유치하는 시골에서 샤자세와. 제유세와는 가서
유치하네.
지당 요 신기한 거 봐야지. 지당 샤자세와 지당 가서 신기한 거 같은 거고 와. 그래서 제유세와는 가서 또 강사를 못 자요 말이지. 제유세와. 가서 또 밑에 해봐라 자요. 제유세와. 제유세와는 가서 또 강사를 하나 잡고 있어. 딜마도 또 밑에 해봐라 제유세 자요.
제유는 디 yogi 제라 디 랍초요나.
그 비즈니스 자요. 제유세와는 가서 또 강사를 잡고 있어. 어디 잡으래? 지다 샤샤세와 지당 가서 이제 이거 봐서 들리지 고고 했어.
Yeah, so object of comprehensions and determining object are not the same. So when we talk about object of comprehensions in general, when we say objects of comprehension, this object of comprehension is usually inclusive with object of knowledge, existence, right? So, however, when we talk about determining object, so determining object is it relates to person. It relates to person, it relates to conceptual consciousness as well. And however, determining object is not to be related, it is not related to a non-conceptual consciousness. determining object, it relates to person and it relates to conceptual consciousness. However, it does not relate to non-conceptual consciousness. Yeah, so for example, pre-consciousness, so this determining object is not related to a non-conceptual consciousness, for example, eye consciousness.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Keshla, I have one question. To the clarification that was given regarding the mode of apprehension and the mode of comprehension, my question really was that are mode of apprehension and mode of comprehension synonymous with each other? Because in some of the texts, it says that the mode of apprehension is actually an object of engagement or main primary object. Whereas mode of comprehension, you said this now, is an object of knowledge, existent, established base, and phenomena. So it looks like they're two different objects. So are they, the mode of apprehension and mode of comprehension, are they identical, synonymous, or are they different things? That was my question.
Again, when you say object of mode of comprehension, it means object of mode of comprehension and object of comprehension means the same thing, right?
I'm asking, the question is because I see mode of apprehension as defined as an object of engagement or main primary object perceived by a direct cognizer, whereas just now you said comprehension is actually object of knowledge, existent, established base, and phenomena. Are they synonymous or are they not synonymous? That is basically was my question earlier.
Yeah. And the 공비에 지와 도도디 지와 타마디 여러 당이 디 시자당 진당 이유. 근데 공기 지와 도도디ris 시자당 진당 이유 된지이나 야나 로아ris 된지 야나디 베데이 로아레. 그래서 공다에 가이스나 디 진당 이유 비차 카시라 근데 디 진당 이유 근데 디 주요ris 디 유이조ris 디 유요ris 근데 디 시자는 비실라에 당기는 시자당 유당 디 요바디 디 근데나 시자당 진당 이유 왠지이나 샤나 베데 로아레스 유타데리스
대단 가서 리다시 요슬로디 가서 이 대단히 셰바 듣자고라 지다시 요슬이 남이 보바이나다 오메디 셰바이나다 근데 본지 메시다버려 자오디 본지 메시되기 진다시 요데 공바 참고 그래서 진다시 요슬다 그다 거랑 유조데
본지 메시
본지 메시 이 도미치 셰바잖아 본지 메시되기 진다시 요데 공바랑 하래
진당 이유로
다 똑바로 파샤바이나 본지 똑바로 때 하는 파샤게 되거든 본지 똑바로 되긴 진다시를 가서는 공부를 하래 공부는 진다시요래 네 나로 똑바로 도미 시바니가 파샤게 와 다 샤샤서도 지당 가서 지전에 다 여바 좀 지다 여바 이 샤샤 인식을 가서 재미기 샤샤 인고래 재미기 도자 인고로 와지다 제막이 이거 도자 인고래 지다 샤샤서도 가서 지전에 파샤게 와 지당시 세우딩 가서 셰발라 가두도 똑바 동기지에서 보면 셰발라 똑바라부터 출자야지 와 지다시데 맞죠 나지 이거들 셰발 이거 나요 수요 수요 제요스 도스 자오와 델레오데 가서 유진데 코로나 저 이거들 야간 시오와 유진에서 자네 다 지당 샤샤스네 시자스는 가서 유진을 봐 야게 요말 가도 야게 말아 일단 시자스는 정말 희박이 시야에 연결해서 야자서 재미기 샤자를 해서 놓아봐. 나 재미기 샤자 또에 연결해서 이거 요비치를 하시고다. 야자서도 이거 받다가 봐. 지당시 요새는 가서 已经的这叫呢，已经定这当学的，已经定这当学的，是先把定这里，都是把这介绍的下来。
这样子是家当有吧？那的有些那的家给我买的，你的当你同你
这讲的有的是那个有的是，那前面给下家的是那来了不啦？前面给多的是多的是，有新的前面给多下的话，有新的前面多呀，有新的前面是多下，意思是前面定多少前面定其他就有不啦？
ini di kata di jintang yu pun aja sana yang yujen lah di jagi orang de kiaba tahu ni de
高度情绪的是叫什么？有叫直接的知道有是那个是吧？那现在是呢，知道把这些的知道有把的，
一档写到了了，
对，写到了，知道吧？知道有把的那叫。
ini di kata tuanji yang lah di yu他的
tuanji的本质的呢，知道有把人的，等你生活到那些现在人呢有把人心情了，他罗生命知道原因不来是生命知道原因不来是他等老那之后知道。
那样的。
有把人呢，
有把
人多一千不来是，他前面有把一些生命多一千不了啊。生命多一千不来，生命多一千呢，生命给多下几个月的了，那生命就知道原因不来。
生命就是
多不来是。
生命多给我了。
多不来是。前面的多新鲜了，前面的知道原因不来是，是吧？多新鲜了，前面的知道原因不来。
其实你第一场呢，你样推荐。
第一场的是加油的是，真正我是现在是第一场的是有把的是等你的是，他已经了正常的加油的是可。
So as I mentioned just now, when we talk about the object of comprehensions, then this in the general context, we say object of comprehensions, existence, object of knowledge, and etc. They are mutually inclusive. So in general, we do not link object of comprehensions, object of knowledge, etc. to object possessor in general context. So we say that these are object, these are existence, these are object of comprehensions. And however, when we talk about object of the mode of apprehensions, then it usually links to an object possessor. When we talk about appearing object, when we talk about apprehended object, when we talk about these the object of the mode of apprehension, usually it is linked to an object possessor. So you can say the relationship between object of comprehensions and object of the modes of apprehensions are like object of comprehensions is more general. It is a general, and object of the modes of apprehensions is particular, general and particular. So, however, when you say that whether they are equivalent or not, then from certain aspects, then they are equivalent. For example, so if it is an existent, then it necessarily realized by a valid cognizer. So, since it is necessarily realized by a valid cognizer, and therefore it is the object of the modes of apprehension of a valid cognizer. So you can say from this perspective, if it is an existent, it necessarily realized by a valid cognizer, and it is necessarily an object of the modes of apprehension of that valid cognizer. So from this perspective, they are linked. So then you can say that linked, or then you can say that they are equivalent in that sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's kita nggak kita sering kita kan hari tua. Kita ada cara yang nggak kita sama nggak semacam bola pelu jo tiada. Terus koga sama ke pintu koga jumpa dan itu kita boleh jadi tua. Nanti nggak semacam bola lu jo cini. Pasti raju gomba jawab raju mana. Gomba nolda ani jawab raju. Jadi cuma tu pasti koga sudah yomar. Tua. Macam mana semacam bola lu siapa koga yomar. Jangan tu misi nggak tu pe. Semacam bola tadi gomba le dia ke mari ina misi tadi cimba jadi tu semacam bola tadi lu jo siapa koga de. Senam cembu syukur itu tua. Senam cembu syukur itu macam pesih dah mana wa. Susu cendela pe. Macam cik cina siapa na semacam bola lu jo siapa. Nggak semua pasti koga mereka sasa mana tua. Wadah jangan tu pe misi macam. Pas jawab gomba suku ni sambo dah pe jawab sambo dah. Jadi itu saya lama dah kerja dah. Sama je je mampu je, senang mampu je curi. Itu sih orang, macam senang curi je cari ni, orang. Tapi gua cuma shuji, gua dua gua personal cuma res cuma semua.
Gimana di list sambo dan gue sini.
Lo sama, les sama dah di sini dah ni. Cie mampu juga susu gua training, tentu gua有res kan dewa. Betul masuk jangan coba ina, namanya yang pe, shuji lah. Lo itu susu tentu gua cuma ada tapi sih mesti cari res semua. Senang cuma.
Yeah, so how say we've finished or we complete the tenet class. So as we should really appreciate and rejoice in having the opportunity to study these great texts. So, and we should consider ourselves very fortunate because in general, when we talk about those who study great texts, most of them are ordained people, whether they are monks or they are nuns. So they are ordained people who studied those great texts. Yet we, as a lay person, as a householders, and we have the opportunity to study these great texts, so we should consider ourselves very fortunate. So this also shows that we had accumulated a positive karma in past lives, and we also created conducive conditions such as meeting with the spiritual friends and etc., spiritual teachers, spiritual friends, and when these positive karma together with those conducive conditions are gathered, then we experience the opportunity to study those great texts. So we should consider ourselves very fortunate and cherish this opportunity.
That's how I conduct. You got a John Namape, redo class Nama Dolan Yoga. There's someone who was sure as well. That person of Chimbusa did someone that just that I be Chimchum with the vigil of the church. The son of Chimbush, when it's charge, I didn't so much about his door. Don't continue was the son of the Juma Chiba. Stop here, someone who paints chicken and none of the others in his door.
And so we have complete the tenet class, and on top of that, we also displayed in review class, and then we discuss with each other about tenets. So this is very good, and then definitely we have accumulated extensive merits by doing so. So I also sincerely rejoice in your extensive merits as well. So, and what I would like to say to you is continue uninterruptedly to accumulate extensive merits.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, so before we end our class, then for auspiciousness, also to appreciate Geshe-la's great kindness in teaching us this difficult topic of tenets. So we offer Thanksgiving mandala to Geshe-la. So we will recite Thanksgiving mandala. So we will recite these two verses, and then we will recite it. So you can see. Okay.
更早的一种不能把你遗忘了，好的，你嘛看的那个说说好了，对吧？看呀，那从那个呢，那个看的那个里面老路有前面里面，你就不要多把那那个你去吧，你在情况下呢，多啊，你那多把这种多把前面把那个你小把那个，他看着落着不落把前落着地图，落着地图的，他就说看的那边，边就不能把前面。就看你的可能什么吧，那你有关系，你在这边上去去恐怕把你的头啊，在你去可是的话，你啊，那在地区的话，给他们什么什么。
We conclude with dedications. We dedicate the roots of virtue that we have accumulated, may it be the complete cause for Buddha Dhamma to flourish in northern directions, and for all sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teaching, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long, excellent health, and may all their holy wishes and enlightened activities be accomplished instantaneously and be spread in northern directions. In particular, we dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kyabja Lama Sopa Rinpoche, endowed with great kindnesses. May Rinpoche's holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously, and may the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma for the sake of all, for the sake of teachings and for the sake of all sentient beings, so that we will have the opportunity to receive the precious teachings from you again, Rinpoche. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail in the world. May wars, conflicts, pandemic, transmitting diseases, disaster, natural disaster that caused by four elements, imbalance of four elements, may these be purified immediately. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who pass away, to all sentient beings in general. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all sentient beings, especially those who suffer and those who pass away. May their negativities and obscurations be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others, such as doctors, nurses, teachers also, and many others who help others, and also those who help others financially. So may their life be filled with excellent happiness, may they live long, good health, and may their good wishes be accomplished instantaneously. Savye wadi tenan ruwa kula kambe dan hiwa jidun lodan dawa yi tebe limbo limbo seje. Chanchu senjo limbo je ma je kwana yuji nyamba me ma yang kone kondo me wa sho jampe ko ye jida chimba na kundo sambo te yang te che de la ki che so dan lo je yuwa de ga dan je ra do. Oje ma che kwana chi yuji chimba nyamba me ma yang kone kondo me wa sho ri tama oje ma che kwana chi yuji chimba nyamba me ma yang kone kondo me wa sho ni tin che son do je be la chi che sa de kan che che de chana pe mo tin che gyo zo la so de zo che de le do yo ni de kun de ben de ma de ba kan de je so me yi shi no kan de zo me tin che gyo zo la so de zo tu che le do yo da me de ma che se le ran zo lo san ya wa ya se chu ba je ran ja shi ge kan yo ba de de me ba tu be ge le zo so to be tu de le bo je che da du me zin je de wa la ha ya me shu se be ko cha je su me je je la ma so wa de pin de ma le jo ye ko je ko ja ye de da ma je do wa ye de na chi do zhen ba ze de mo do bu xi wa xi de ye ma ren da ju zo de zo xi da da jia se na je tu je la bo je de be yang de sa de zo ge za de ji be do yo xue zhi yo 我也是讲的，本当的话嘛，就为年轻的时候，对这叫做一小变形。